I'm always impressed when I come back to a group and they ask how many of y'all know who I am. And the majority of the people raise their hands. You actually knew who the instructor was, and you still came back. I am so impressed. I oftentimes ask how many of y'all have been with me before by a raise of hands before you've never come back. Get those hands up. But we've got a lot of information to cover today. Now the good news kind of is there haven't been just massive changes to the GAR contract. Now in your handout, your handout is not a lot of notes. You can take your notes on the handouts and stuff, but they're the contracts. Your first 11 pages are just the changes. But if you go through and look at that, you will see that the changes primarily 95% of them were moving this paragraph to this paragraph, combining this paragraph 3 and paragraph 6, and making it paragraph 7, which made 4, 3, 5, and that sort of thing. That's primarily what it is. We do have a really cool change. One that there's two of them that I'm just really excited about. And then some new forms that I think are really great. But there's one of them I call the Patrick Finnick change. And it's good stuff. It really is. It is good stuff. It was your broker that made the change. It was your broker that brought the energy to get this done. It's something that I've been talking about for years, but it was Patrick that got it done. I couldn't get it done. It was his passion that did get it done. And you'll see what that is as we go through it. And it is just a start, just a beginning of where we truly need to be. So, with that being said, some of the 2011 form changes, minor revisions throughout the package. The time limit acceptance box has gone through a minor revision to try to clear up some things. There were some questions about, well, you've got a time limit for acceptance, but is that also a time limit for communication? And so we clarified that, just a minor change there. The signature lines have been reformatted on the forms. We always meant for this to be consistent. So no matter what form you pick up, we want the buyer or the tenant signing on one side, the seller or landlord signing on the other side. And we did that for most of them, but there were a few that somehow we got them swapped. And because you became so ingrained having the buyer sign here and the seller, that you got confused and having the buyer sign on the seller's line and so on. So we think we've gotten that fixed. To be honest with you folks, we just got fat and lazy. I was talking to Ron Hawley about it a few minutes ago. It was like we have become domesticated. It's almost like the difference between a cat and a dog, and many differences. But one of the things is that dogs in our society have become completely domesticated. You take a dog and put them out into the wild, they will likely not survive because they have lost their hunting instinct. Cats still have it. But dogs have lost their hunting instinct. They've got to be fed. They don't know how to hunt and find their own food. We've completely domesticated them. The market was so good 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we almost became so domesticated we forgot how to hunt. We're just standing around. I was telling people, some of y'all heard me say this. Come on, folks, just because you're selling real estate in 2004, don't feel like you are the ace of spades. The reality is I could take my dog, put a note in his mouth, drop him off in the neighborhood, he'd come back with a signed contract. People were selling real estate just because they had a real estate license and they were hanging around. We've got to start selling the difference. The American public will pay for different. They don't pay for weird, but they will pay for different. And so we've got to be a little bit different. We've got to be selling the value, and it's got to be tangible. Too many people today believe that anybody with a real estate license is a realtor. The words are interchangeable to the public, and that is our fault. We have got to start separating. Pat came before the Forum Committee and very passionately expressed that there needs to be a difference, and if it nowhere else, on our contracts. Because it says Georgia Association of Realtors, and you do not have to be a realtor to use these contracts. So the public thinks that everybody using the contract is a realtor. It says at the very least, we could put on the contract, member of the blank of realtors. So a person who is using the forms and is not a realtor member has to put in NA. And then we need to follow this up, and Terry's going to talk some about it. We need to follow this up with selling the benefit. Selling to the consuming public that they understand the difference between being a realtor and not being a realtor. So they ask during their presentations, are you a realtor? And this is just the beginning. This is just the surface, having this on our contract, that you are a member of the association or you are not. We start selling the difference to the public, then it will come out. So that is actually a scene. It's just one line, a few words, but I think it's a huge change in the right direction.